You've done an hour of reading, you've finished a full draft of a chapter, you've replied to a few emails, and yet you still feel guilty that you've not done enough. Welcome to the world of PhD guilt, where the pressure is constant, the bar is always moving, and no matter how much you do, you think you should still be doing more. If we've not met before, hi, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Yardley, and I help PhD students get through the pressure, the mess, and the self-doubt one step at a time. And today, we are going to talk honestly about that feeling that plagues so many PhD students, the feeling that you're just not doing enough. Let's get into it. First things first, if you feel this way, it doesn't mean that you're lazy or broken or not cut out for academia. It is an incredibly common feeling, and it doesn't just show up on the bad days, it can show up on the good days too. You get loads done, but instead of feeling proud of that, you're thinking, I could have done more had I not wasted that hour this morning. Sure, I sent that draft to my supervisor, but they're probably going to think it's rubbish, and they're probably going to think it could have been longer, or I could have added this, that, or the other onto it. It's 8 p.m, and I've done a lot today, but I could just do half an hour on this other thing. Oh my goodness, where is this coming from? So, a few things are probably contributing towards this. A PhD hasn't got a built-in clock in or clock out time. Unlike a 9-to-5 job or shift work, there's no bell that tells you it's time to go home for the day. The to-do list is infinite, and often when you get something finished, like you've finished doing a draft or you've written so many thousand words, it doesn't feel like closure. It just opens a new tab in your brain, like, oh, what else could I be doing? And you've probably internalised some unrealistic expectations along the way too. Maybe you think you should be writing every day, and the one that I am thoroughly sick of hearing at the moment is, I have to write 1,000 words in the morning before I get my breakfast or before I have my coffee. I'm like, why are you doing this to yourself? If that is something that is not helpful for you and it's making you feel terrible, you probably need to let it go. Or I should be reading 20 papers a week, or I should have published multiple articles by now, or if I have published articles, the articles aren't in world-leading journals, so they don't matter. You might be comparing yourself to other PhD students who seem to really have it together and are doing really well, but actually they feel like they're winging it too. You care deeply about your work, so that's another factor here. Caring about your work is a good thing because it means that you're committed, that you're passionate, that you're thoughtful. But that also means that it can particularly sting or it can particularly hurt when things aren't flowing along nicely. You might feel that you've let yourself down or you've let other people down. And passion and interest and caring about your work, those things can actually magnify that feeling. Here's the truth. You're not doing nothing. You're probably doing a lot more than you give yourself credit for. But the problem is that PhD guilt is not something that is logical, it's something that's emotional. So let's look at how we manage it. You might notice some patterns in the way that you're talking to yourself around the whole guilt thing. I should have started earlier today. That one was a personal favourite of mine when I was doing my PhD, and I still use it now. Everyone else is so much more disciplined than me. If I was really cut out for a PhD, I wouldn't be struggling this much. These thoughts, they're like little background apps that are draining your energy. And whilst they might be familiar, they're not true. Productivity and worth are not the same thing. Your value as a researcher and as a person, as a human being, is not measured by how many words you've written today, or the number of hours you worked this week, or the number of invitations from friends that you turned down so you could prioritise your thesis, or how long it's been since you took a holiday, a vacation. You're not a machine. You are allowed to rest. You're allowed to have days when you don't do any work on your PhD, or you just do a little bit of work on your PhD. None of that invalidates your progress or your potential. And you're not the only one who's feeling the way that you are. PhD guilt is something that's quite silent. Not many people talk about it, but it is widespread. Trust me. Ask me how I know this. So many brilliant, hardworking PhD researchers feel like they're not doing enough when they are doing more than enough. If any of what I've said so far has resonated with you, jump into the comments. Tell me what guilt voice you've heard lately. What has it been saying to you? What did you last feel guilty or bad about when it comes to your PhD? Or let me know what you're proud of, something that you've done recently that felt like a win. So share whatever you want to share, and you might be surprised at the number of people who go, yep, I felt like that too. Let's be honest, for a lot of PhD students, the word enough might as well be mythical. Because there's always more to read, there's always more to write, there's always more to analyse, there is always more that you could be doing. And you might even find yourself doing that thing where you close your laptop for the day at like 9 p.m. and then 15 minutes later, you're going back to it because you're like, wow, I've got time and I don't feel too tired, so I should be doing more. So you need to get really clear and realistic in terms of what would look like enough, what would feel like enough to you. Let's actually quantify this. What would enough realistically look like for you this week? Would it be that you spent a total of 4 hours on your PhD or 20 hours or whatever? Is it going to be that you've created a particular draft of a specific section of a chapter? Or maybe it might benefit you to think of it in a different way and say that I'm not going to work any more than X number of hours on my PhD this week, and set yourself a limit. And this is going to vary for everyone. And I've just thought I will pop a link on the screen right now for people who are balancing a full-time job with a PhD. A video I made about a year or so ago that people tend to find quite helpful, so go and check that out. I'll also pop a link in the description so you don't have to come out of this video and go into that one and come back into this one again because faff. You also need to ask yourself where your expectations are coming from in terms of how much work you're getting done. Are they coming from you or are they coming from someone else? And if they're coming from someone else, is that even realistic? Because they're not you. They don't have your life. And you need to remember that you don't have to hit this kind of gold star level of productivity every day. You just need to keep showing up sustainably in a way that is going to work for you and isn't going to make you feel awful about yourself. And it's worth adding that your examiner is not going to care that you got up every day at 5 a.m. for a month and absolutely burned yourself out. They're not going to care that you worked for this number of days straight on your PhD. They are not going to care that you meditated or drank green juice or did whatever the influencers are telling you to do right now. They are going to care about your contribution to knowledge, not how you got there, the contribution to knowledge itself. Let's talk about what counts. If you stared at a confusing quote for half an hour and then it began to make sense, that's progress. If you've opened a draft that you've been avoiding for weeks and you changed a few things about it, that is progress. If you gave yourself a proper break and actually ate a meal away from your laptop, that's progress. And I probably need to take my own advice on that because I'm looking at my laptop right now and it is disgusting. Crumbs, splashes of I don't know what. If you have a disgusting laptop too, can you please help me feel less bad about mine by getting in the comments on that one? Thank you. Anyway, back to what I was saying. You don't have to write 1,000 words to earn a rest. You don't have to make yourself miserable to prove that you're working hard. So instead of asking, did I do enough today? Ask this instead. What did I do today that moved me forward, even just a little bit? What did I do today to take care of myself so I can keep going? Okay, let's get practical. So here are a few things that you can try this week to ease the guilt. Set a done for the day time. Decide when you're going to stop and stick to it. You will train your brain to accept that boundary over time. And even if you only manage that 2 or 3 times a week at first, it's still progress. Instead of feeling terrible about your to-do list and all the items on there that you haven't ticked off, write a what I did today list. So at the end of every day, write down everything you did, no matter how small it is. Because that helps you rewire your brain a little bit to focus on what you've actually done rather than what you wanted to do. Create a kindness clause. Write yourself a one-liner that you can go and take a look at when things don't go to plan or you feel bad. Something like, it's okay to rest. If I don't feel like it today, that's fine. Or every little thing I do moves me forward. Whether it's a shuffle or a leap, it's all movement forward. And I know how cringe and how uncomfortable and ick this can feel, but it can be really, really effective. If any of this video resonated with you, if you found it helpful, I'm going to pop another one on the screen right now that you might also enjoy. It's about procrastination that can be such a source of guilt for PhD students. And spoiler alert, it doesn't mean that you're lazy. It just means that your brain is trying to cope with overwhelm, and that is how it's doing it. So head on over to that video and I'll see you in there.